Welcome to the Low Country Revolutionaries, the podcast that dives deep into the heart of Charleston, South Carolina's vibrant entrepreneurial scene. I'm your host, Bill Bellott, founder of Veritas Exoscience, and each week we're spotlighting the boldest innovators from the Chucktown startup community. These are the visionaries pouring their heart and soul into the businesses that are transferring Charleston into a global hub of creativity and American ingenuity. Get ready for raw, real conversations with the trailblazers shaping our city's future. Let's dive in. I'd like to welcome Gillian Zettler. With nearly 2 decades of experience in community building and experiential leadership, Gillian co-founded The Drop-In to create a joyful, movement-based space where connection thrives. Welcome, Gillian. How you doing?
Hi, Bill. So glad to be here with you.
It's good to be here with you, too. So I'm really curious, you say in this bio, you're creating this movement space. So I saw, the announcement of your guys' new space down there in Charleston on King Street and everything, which is awesome. And it sounds like it's more to it than just some bicycles. So tell me more about this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So we are situated in the North Central neighborhood on Upper King Street. So for folks who are also familiar with King, we're not in the major hustle bustle. We are in a really cool developing portion of Upper King Street. And we are in a 2-story craftsman bungalow. Nice. Technically the last piece of commercially zoned real estate on King Street. So it was most recently functioning as a residence, but we found just this beautiful spot that was actually shared to us by another local business owner here in Charleston who knew that it was available. And we're just really inspired by really Chandler and I growing up in smaller towns outside of South Carolina. I grew up in a small town in Vermont. She was born in a small town in Texas. And just seeing like businesses really come to life in non-traditional spaces. So we do host cycle classes, which we actually did some civil engineering in the home to put the spin classes on the second floor, but purposefully left the downstairs open and flexible space so that between the beautiful front porch and the front yard and the downstairs rooms, we're able to host not only mat-based movement classes, but community-driven events as well. So we've already had an acoustic music night here, and we anticipate some really cool community gatherings, book talks, live podcasts, all sorts of things that can take place in this space.
Nice. Well, I've never done a live podcast before, so I will book some time with you to do it at your place because I want to see this. Because I'm all about body movement, so I have to ask: do you guys host any like martial arts stuff down in your open movement space?
We haven't, but the mat classes we have a few different varieties. So there's a sculpt class that involves weight bands blocks. There's a somatic movement class, which is really our OG class, has elements of things that you might see in Pilates or yoga or like a traditional aerobics class. But also the integration of somatic breath work. And then our restore class is really, really like a deep stretch opportunity with a lot of breath work. And I have a lot of friends that actually do jujitsu and dabble in martial arts. And there's so much crossover in that Venn diagram of movement.
Right. Yeah. Martial arts is definitely body movement type stuff. I dabbled in that for a number of years, so that's why I was interested. I have a personal interest in that. So
that's awesome.
I can't pass this up. You just opened a can of worms here. So you said you and Chandler are from small towns. How small? Because I want to compete. I'm from a small town in Georgia, and we only had 2 red lights. So how small?
Well, I beat you, Bill, because my small town in Vermont only has 1 red light.
My gosh.
Yep. And so it was about 2,200 people.
Oh, you beat me.
Yep. And then it would balloon up to over 10,000 because we had a ski resort in the winter. So I feel like, I've been in Charleston since 2012, late 2012, early 2013. And obviously those of us that have been in South Carolina over the past decade have seen insane growth.
Right.
But I feel like as a kid, like I was keenly aware of what it was like when, when the tourists came to visit, because summer and fall, you had people who wanted to see the leaves change,
Right.
and you had a little influx there, but the winter was totally different than the beautiful kind of serenity of the summers in Vermont.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We had, we had about 3,000 people. So we're slightly larger, but not much. But yeah,
Not by much.
Yeah, not by much. We had a sweet potato festival every year, and so it wasn't ski season, which is a little bit longer, but it was like a full weekend of like thousands of people in town and everything. Yeah, yeah, and every farmer from as far as they could drive, coming to be in the parades and all that kind of stuff. So I get what you're saying. That ballooning there is kind of like a shock to the system.
Absolutely.
So how does that kind of to switch gears a little bit here is, so how are you kind of positioning your business with that? Because, you're sort of close to downtown Charleston and everything. Are you focused toward, our everyday residents, or are you also looking at the tourists coming in to the Charleston area? How are you doing everything with that?
Yeah, I mean, to take a step back in the origin story, Chandler was a D1 athlete. She's a graduate from the College of Charleston.
Oh, cool.
So both of us came to South Carolina by way of our universities. I'm a Clemson graduate. And, our journey into the movement space is both, different. Hers, like, heavily annexed on her time as a D1 athlete. Right. And for myself, my background is actually in events and experiential. So cool. I moved to Charleston specifically to take over from the founding executive director for the Wine and Food Festival. Okay. So I ran the Wine and Food Festival in Charleston for about 10 years. And I think, the drop-in specifically involves movement and community building. But at its core, I think what I really love, and also partially coming out of COVID, was that yearning for a more deeply connected neighborhoods.
Right.
And while I was running an event that was, definitely to drive tourism and shining a light on all the beautiful local things that Charleston has to offer, I think, coming out of COVID, a lot of us were all looking for that way to feel reconnected.
Yes.
And so it felt like a very full circle moment when you're thinking about all that time that we all spent in our houses, figuring out what a movement practice might have adapted to look like during that time, to then find a house to create this business as the place. It felt right. One of the most intimate things that you can do is invite someone over into your home, right? So to do that, to proverbially open up, metaphorically, say, hey, come on over to my house, and then to be opening the front door, it feels so special to be able to do that in the way that we are, and do that in a place where the neighborhood feels super rich in North Central.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, you're painting this picture of a little bit more than, hey, here's just some place to go get fit, or to lose some weight, or to build some muscle, or whatever. So tell me, I mean, you and Chandler have obviously thought a lot about this. Tell me more about that. Give me some more about, what do you see this going forward? How does this work?
Well, so we looked at over 100 pieces of real estate before this space. Wow. And there was a lot of strip malls. There was a lot of, the base of a mixed use development. Right. and not throwing shade. I mean, there's certainly metrics that drive where these things can find an easy customer base. I think what we really wanted was to try to build something from the ground up that in no way, shape, or form felt transactional. So a lot of movement spaces, by way of you thinking about your OpEx and how many people you need to move through the door. It's about get people in and get people out. And, in the same vein, I think a lot of people are go, go, go. What we are finding is that there's this whole other subset of folks. There's a lot of people that want the rhythms of their life to slow down a little bit more, and they're yearning to be a little bit more deeply connected. That people feel that, even though we're more connected, we feel disconnected and a little lonely. And so this space was really crafted in such a way, including the pop-ups that we've been hosting, which, we've been out at the Navy Yard. We had a tent in Mount Pleasant out at the town center.
Nice.
We had a year-long pop-up at the base of the Meeting Street Lofts downtown. And people want to come early and stay late. They want to get to know their neighbor. They want to find community. And if you've ever been on a team or outside of like churches and bars, like when you become a grown up, it's very hard to develop friendships.
Right.
So that's what this space was built with, that less transactional experience in mind.
That's awesome. That is really cool. It's like, it's similar. I have a friend, Chris, who has a gaming lounge, New Forge Gaming Lounge and Reforged Gaming Lounge. Sorry. And he has a very similar sentiment. So it's about connecting people, and I love that. It's like that's more than just coming. Hey, I can come and sweat, on a bike or lift weights anywhere. But this is bigger than that. So how does say someone's interested? How do they come? Did they just show up at your place? Do they have to register online? How do they get involved with this?
So we certainly encourage people to check out what we offer either at our website, which is adropin.com, or to, find us via our app, shows our entire schedule. So Google Play and the Apple iPhone store both have our app where you see the full schedule and menu of offerings. But I mean, certainly one of the coolest parts about opening the brick and mortar on King Street is that we've had a lot of people, even in the neighborhood, just wander up and say, hey, I've been watching the renovation of this place for almost a year. Like, tell me what's happening in here, and giving people tours and encouraging people to hang out on the front porch with a cup of coffee from the Harbinger. Like, there's just, it can happen in a myriad of ways, but, absolutely looking at the website, looking at the apps for offerings, and you can get a sense of, who we are and what we're about, and like the joyful nature in which we operate, even just via, social channels, if you do that.
Okay, cool. Now, is it co-ed, so men and women, or is it women only? What? Okay. So
no, we are a large container of belonging, and, and Chandler and I say often, like, the space was built with you in mind, whoever you are.
Cool.
And definitely trying to make sure that these opportunities are crafted with accessibility at the forefront.
Right.
So, we have a lot of people that are coming into the space that either have not ever developed a regular ritual with moving their body, or maybe it's been a long time. And so there's always opportunities for modifications, and especially with spin, which, spin has funny, there's tons of memes and silly videos, and usually the rooms are dark. Our room is not, it's not blacked out,
Cool.
So we're riding in the lighting temperature of the day, so to speak. And it's meant to be fun, there's no intimidating choreography. So I just would say, if there's any part of you that's like, this group of folks sounds interesting to me, like, it is all genders, all ages. It's a very diverse space in a lot of ways.
So it's not like the memes you see online where there's somebody standing in front of the class yelling at you the whole time.
No, that's not our vibe. That's definitely not our vibe.
I'm like, okay, I can get that if I go to work. I don't need that,
No, life is heavy and hard enough, like, you need a place that you feel like you can come in and you can take deep breaths, laugh a little. We have a lot of fun in here, lot of fun.
Awesome. So do you have like a suite of like coaches, instructors that work with you? And, I imagine they all have their own times and stuff.
Yep. Yeah. So the full schedule is loaded into the app, and you can also see that on the website, and we're open 7 days a week, and there's a myriad of classes that are offered throughout the day. So whether or not you want to like dip your toe in the water by coming in and taking like a restorative stretch class, most people, like, you have the chance to explore the space, see the amenities. I mean, I will say, at the risk of, at the risk of sounding overly proud, it's a beautiful space. So it just feels good being in here. There's, floors from the early, late 1800s, early 1900s, old heart of pine floors, and lots of that. And we've got showers on both floors and ADA accessibility and all of that. So yeah, good. You can really come and take advantage of all the things.
That's nice. And I know the audience can't see this, but I can see because we're third teams here. They've got art on the wall and everything. I can tell you that I have never been to a fitness center that has art on the wall. So I think Gillian's telling you the truth here. It's worth going down and see it. And I already want to go down and see it just because you said you have heart of pine floors, just because that's that's really cool.
Is the idea,
Yeah, that's awesome. So once somebody signs up, they can come take a tour and they sign up. Is it like you go to a certain class, or you can switch between classes? Is there like is there stuff they need to learn before they can even do anything? How does it kind of work?
I think one of the best things about the way that we've set up the space is that everything is offered to you here. So if you need spin shoes, we have them to rent.
Cool.
Our mats and our props are all provided, so you don't even have to bring your own floor mat. We have memberships that are all inclusive. So a lot of spaces, there's, an ancillary charge if you're going to do more than one modality. Right. Everything that happens in the drop-in is under one membership, which you can either do in an unlimited way, or we have folks that know they come a certain amount of times a week. So you can see all the package offerings.
Nice.
And there's some great intro offers too, just to be able to test the space out, especially if you're a local person. So there's an unlimited week that's available to you, and some BOGO things and stuff like that, just to be able to come in. And we always encourage people to try more than one modality at the start, because then you really start to see the benefits of membership and being able to take advantage of everything that's under one roof.
Nice. And I know your background with events and everything. Are you guys doing any events outside of the studio to kind of, whether it's to build business, but to connect people, because it sounds like you're about connecting people? Is anything going on in that area?
Yeah, so we have two external event series that we produce. One is called Here and Now, and that's an event, usually an opportunity for us to get into unique event spaces around Charleston. So we've done things out at Runnymede, at the Cedar Room, the View at Morrison Yard. We've done things out at the Navy Yard. Nice. And so really that features us as local facilitators, a cool space, and we usually collaborate with a local facilitator as well, because it's always fun to see how you can be in collaboration with there's so many incredible places to move your body and to enjoy music. And a lot of the venues in Charleston tend to be very focused on weddings, which I'm sure is not surprising to your listener. But so to be able to let people kind of get a peek behind the curtain in some of these beautiful Charleston venues has been fun. And then the other series is called Happier Hours, and that's a more highly produced series. And that involves us bringing in relationships within our network from out of town.
Oh, nice.
So Chandler and I both share a mutual love of travel. Our relationship as friends certainly has grown from taking some really incredible trips together. We love to travel for live music. So the Happier Hour series is really our way of saying hey, these are some incredible people that we've built in our network from outside of Charleston. And for people that don't have the privilege of traveling in that way, being able to build an event around them and share that experience has been really cool. So we are usually always involved in Park Circle Pride, which happens in June. So people can expect to have that on their radar. And then we also do retreats domestically and abroad. So in May, it's sold out, but in May we're headed to Italy.
Oh, wow.
For a 10-day retreat. And if listeners keep an eye on our social channels and our website, they will also find that there's something else brewing in that category too.
That's cool. Where in Italy are you going?
The Marche region. So we're on the interior, the interior portion facing Croatia. So right
Yes.
on the Adriatic.
So is it near Rimini, or is it? I'm trying to remember where.
It's about an hour and a half south of Rome. We'll fly into Rome, and then we'll take the bus down.
Okay, so between Rome and Naples is what I'm guessing, somewhere in that area.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
My family is Sicilian, and I've been to many places in Europe, but I've never been to Italy. So I feel like selfishly finally scratching that itch.
Yeah, well, you'll hate me. I lived in Italy for a year.
Wow. Well, my brother studied abroad in Florence for an entire semester and saved all of his selective credits to take photography and Italian while he was in Florence. So you guys did it right.
Yeah, well, I was a visiting scientist over there. I lived in very northern Italy, north of Milan, in a little town called Ispra. I was a visiting scientist when I was a federal scientist, and lived there for about a year. It was wonderful, and then I had friends there, made friends there, and went all the way down to the Puglia region, to Gallipoli and all those places around there. And it's an amazing country, really, people full of life, and great food and everything. So you'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy it a lot, I think.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Well, that's really cool. It's cool. It's like you're doing stuff with, events, not just at your place, but around the world. So, how does it all kind of connect together? Do you have like a long-term plan? Like you're telling me it's like, okay, we want to build community. We want to, drive connections. Is the plan to have more drop-ins in different places around the region, or where are you guys kind of thinking from a business sense on this?
I think for right now, our focus is really on making this space super vibrant and being able to just squeeze all the beautiful juice that this space has to offer. Cool. And there are some fun things that we're looking to do in the space that also would make it a little bit different from your non-traditional movement space, with the potential to get outside facilitators to be able to use the space as well. But when you're focused on community, and especially when you're moving into a neighborhood like North Central, I think at the epicenter, you have to have people that are willing to seed that work, that care to get to know the people around you. So when I think about scaling, and when Chandler and I have talked about scaling, we really truly believe that it's going to have to be the right place with the right people at the right time. And I do believe we have an incredible experienced hospitality team that's supporting this space. And we have audacious goals as far as really being mindful of the burnout that exists in the fitness industry. A lot of times people are always 1099 employees. They're not salaried. There's no health benefits. And so we have some really audacious goals to flip the script on a lot of that. And, and then as the business grows, it's incredible to be able to think about the idea of creating opportunities for others to have financial well-being and be able to be truly supported doing something they love, maybe with another location.
Yeah. That's really cool. It's like, I totally get what you're saying. It's like, I feel the same thing just doing this podcast. It's like very focused on South Carolina, North Carolina a little bit too, but very focused on South Carolina and the Low Country, and trying to build this community. And, yes, just probably like you get opportunities like, oh, you can do something that brings in this national type thing. I'm like, but it doesn't really fit for right here, right now. So you have to do what you can do right now and build the thing you love. And that's the thing I hear from you, and I'm sure Chandler's the same way. You guys are doing what you love right now, and that's awesome.
Yeah, 100%. And listen, I've had CEO roles and executive director titles, and both of us, I just think we're a generational, there's a big generational gap between Chandler and I. I mean, I'm 12 years her senior as far as age goes. And, that's a really beautiful thing because our perspectives are shaped really differently. Oh, yeah. She's also an old soul, but we both care deeply about the mission of the business, which is to cultivate resilience and build joy. And at the end of the day, you can get bigger. And I'm not throwing shade at anybody who, you know, there's growth that provides all sorts of wonderful things when done thoughtfully and done well. But there's also something really beautiful in just knowing that like enough sometimes is enough, you know, and just being able to just really enjoy that sense of purpose and alignment. And right now, I mean, I haven't woken up happier to head to work in my entire professional career.
Yep. I totally feel what you're saying there. It's like I've been down similar roads, and I get the feeling like you feel like you're really making a difference and not just, you know, getting a paycheck, and, you know, you're helping people out. And that's the awesome thing, is it sounds like you guys are in a great space to really help a lot of people out. And I think, you know, I'm looking forward to getting and seeing it in person, and I would encourage others to go down and see the drop in. So you've been through this journey. You've been in a lot of other places. You've been building this business, you know, for a while now with, you know, pop-ups and everything. So you probably learned a few things. So what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs out there in the Charleston area?
I mean, I don't know that this is new advice, but I think like whatever your intended best laid plans are may not be the best plan, you know, and riding that wave of just a continued flexible mindset is the best thing you can do. And to dial back to what we were just chatting about, like the more that you have been super clear on what your purpose is and what the mission is of what you're trying to accomplish, that is what I think steers you back, you know, between the riverbeds and staying on course more than anything else. Is like, is this in alignment? Does it feel good? And hey, I may have planned for this to be looking like X, but I can't even tell you how many times over the past 24 months that we've gone, man, aren't we so glad that plan we had didn't work out?
Right.
You know?
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is really awesome advice. I can tell you, I heard a lot of people give advice. That's awesome advice. You're not repeating what anybody else has said. So I appreciate that. And thank you for sharing that with everybody.
Thanks, Bill.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I hope we do it again soon, especially after you go to Italy and spend 2 weeks there. Come back, tell everybody.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I will do that. We'll get you over here to see these floors and maybe enjoy a cup of coffee on the front porch.
I'd love that. So, you know, being in Italy, I got addicted to espresso. So, and you will too, you know, because there's, you know, when you go to Italy, you go to the bar. Well, it's not a bar like here in Charleston. The bar is an espresso bar, and they're everywhere.
I already have a caffeine issue, Bill. So that's, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe drop-in 2.0 is in Italy. So we'll see.
So I will tell you, I'll give you just a secret tip here. So in Italy, whenever you meet somebody, you always have an espresso with them. So if you're like some of my friends, they're very popular. And so they could meet like 12, 15 people in a day. And that's even for an Italian, that's a lot. So the secret is, Italians have a secret. It's called a ristretto. So it's about 2 to 10 drops of espresso in a cup. It's just enough to have a good sip, but not enough to jack you up if you've had 20 cups in a day. So there you go.
Noted.
All right. Well, it's great talking to you. I will talk to you again in the future, I hope.
Me too. Thanks so much, Bill.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Low Country Revolutionaries. Thanks for joining us as we celebrate the fearless entrepreneurs making wave in Charleston's Chucktown Startups community. I'm Bill Bellot, and it's been an honor to share these inspiring stories with you. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs a spark of low country innovation. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.